Hey yo,
Hey, man, can you hear me?
yeah. If the connection's good, then we're good to go. I've shuffled
Alright,
things around a little bit.
alright, man. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So,
Okay.
uh,
If
so
not, then I don't know.
yeah, whatever, man. We'll cross that bridge. But
We'll do
all right.
something.
Are you ready to go, man?
I'm all good. Yeah.
All right. Hey, everyone, Tom here, Battle Rap Resume, back with yet another episode of the show. Today, we welcome, truly one of my favorites back to the show. This is the guy, I mentioned this before. I think I mentioned this in our first episode. This is the guy that made me realize I could never actually be a battle rapper. Like seeing him live. I remember when I battled Turner on that Don't Flop card in the park at the Albert Memorial, and I finished the battle, whatever. And then I remember seeing Kraft versus Press One and just getting disheartened. I was really entertained, but really standing witness to that. Really enjoyed that stuff. And as it's gone through, he was on the show for the second episode, and we've had lots of discussions since. And we're going to catch up yet again as we do intermittently on the back catalogue. And today is pretty special, really, because we are building to a huge battle with Unan on Don't Flop. And we've had some huge scalps taken in the past 18 months that I'm excited to get into. Quill, for example, and Matter and stuff like that. So, Kraft, how's it going, man?
Hey man, good to be on the show. You had some bars that day too in the park, so don't
Thank you.
downplay yourself.
Thanks.
Um, and yeah, it's going okay, man. It's a very very busy week for me, but good. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm trying to prep for this next clash as well when I
Yeah.
when I have those spare minutes.
This is actually your 11th time on Battle Rap Resume, all told.
Oh, how the
That's
fuck is that happening?
crazy, right? Yeah, I was looking back. I mean, that obviously we have your original BRR, and I'm just looking through. I just searched your name on the Podbean. You were on for the World Dom 6 preview. We did top 5 soul rounds, which I'd like to re-listen to that
Yeah, I remember
episode,
that one.
actually. I do remember doing that one quite early on. Actually, you and XQZ, like, having a preview for 8th birthday. That was when I was doing
Yeah,
I was doing Power Resume, whatever I could do. Like,
yeah,
no
man.
offense, but
You've
like,
been there for the culture for the
yeah.
when the culture's needed XQZ and Crafty in a
It's
face
like
off.
40
You've been there
minutes.
to facilitate that.
It's a lengthy episode, but we did top 10 Don't Flop
And there's no
title.
reason for it to be long. You know what
No,
I mean?
God no, God no. But I mean, yeah, XQZ is awesome, and that was a really good battle as well. Like you saw that one live. But yeah, top 10 Don't Flop title contenders. Do you also remember?
Wow.
Do you remember you and Lazy Ass Jack battled? And if I remember, the footage was lost other than one round. And you guys sort of
Correct.
rebuilt the battle and gave it to me very kindly. And it's up there in its Frankenstein form.
Yeah, it's that was an interesting one. That was really at a time where I was just moving between leagues, trying to try out things in battle rap. Just be like, I think I was at a time I was really, as every cliched battle rapper does, thinks he's pretty much close to being done with it.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'll do King of the Runnels, the Jump Off, Gift of the Gab, and I just went on all the leagues really, and I battled Lazy Ass Jack on that, and yeah, that was I mean, he's come a long way since then. His last clash was incredible. So yeah, shout out to Lazy Ass Jack, man.
And shout out to you as well, because again, a lot of these episodes I didn't necessarily forget, but I haven't thought about for a long time. Like there's a few Barrett Resume series that I started, did one episode of, and just never really continued with. One of them was called It Came from Verse Tracker, and you featured on the only episode. Do you remember this? When we went through those 4 random
We
battles.
watched them random. Yeah, that was funny, man. That was cool.
So the
I
conceit,
like that a lot.
yeah. I mean, the conceit of the show is the dilemma of anyone who consumes any form of media or music or painting or whatever, books. There's just too much of it, and you can just become overwhelmed by it to a certain extent. So what I'd like to do is go onto the Verse Tracker's battle page and just see the 20 battles from around the world that got uploaded in the last 18 hours via thumbnail. So yeah, this episode, I remember we did Mike P versus New Jersey Twerk. I think that was probably the only famous battle we did. The other 3, I think, did a Rupert
Okay.
Common battle as well, maybe. But yeah, check that out. I mean, we don't want to spend all the time going through these, but you're also on Mastermind. We've done some previews.
That was fun. I remember
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
some of these I just don't even remember now. But
Yeah, exactly.
Boston
Yeah,
Man
it's like,
McNeil, that
yeah,
was
yeah.
good fun.
You kicked off Boston with Canal, and we've done previews, and obviously we've recapped the most recent episode we did, like Raptor and the Shufflo Clash, and Evil and, both Pedros. And then we also did top 5 Tony D rounds. But, so I'm trying to put the timeline in my head now, because when we spoke on that episode that I last mentioned, the Crafty, it's called Crafty Talks, Raptor Shuffler, Evil, and much more. And that was March 1st, 2018. So we're recording this 5th of Feb, 2020. So pretty much, 2 years later. But we didn't speak about...
Wow.
I know, crazy, right? Yeah, insane. We didn't speak about the Frankie clash.
And that goes to show, you only paid your own way. Frank going Dutch in his defense. Right card, see I'm a roadblock with high heart. So I'm not something you can bypass. You took up a staff role to try to show that you're a diehard, but really you want to judge the lower tier and call them all tryhards to feed your own ego and pretend you're in a high class and spend your career looking down on people like a lifeguard. You never adapt.
Which I think had already happened, but because of Don't Flop's collapse, quote unquote, it never got uploaded for quite a while, or...
Yeah, that's correct. That was. I remember thinking at the time. Thank God, all Don't Flops, seems to be doing its thing, and all the other leagues that are active are being active. But at the time, it was a ghost town. UK battle rap. There was nothing happening, and I had this footage. I couldn't get a response from anyone involved in battle rap. It was wild. And someone sent me the footage, and I uploaded it to Facebook. I was like, "Here's the battle. I don't think you'll ever see the light of day." So I uploaded it to Facebook. And I remember doing that because I thought it would never get uploaded, and then it did get uploaded onto Don't Flop. So
yes,
that's probably why we missed it.
I mean, compare like the Red Flag battle, which has some absolutely terrific cinematography and graphic design throughout, to this with that quite ugly throwback footer there with the Twitters on. Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Red Flag one was really cool, man.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the battle. He was great.
Of course.
And yeah, it was really nice to see the footage looking really on point as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we'll get to the Red Flag battle. We're going to start with the Frankie battle, which you point to a little bit of lineage that you have in these rooms, the engine rooms, because you mentioned the 2 girls at the front. In your 3rd round, in reference to the guy which everyone knows, from that infamous 8th birthday pre-party. But talk to me about...
Was I insulting him?
Yeah. And I know, but you knew, you remember them, like they're just a stain mentally. But
I think it was at the time people that I think that got just a lot of. It really annoys me when all the comments are about something, not the battle.
Yeah. They just take over.
I was just like, oh well, yeah. But shout out them. Sure, they had a nice time, and I hope they're doing well.
And it's a very crafty response. I respect that. And I remember us saying, I think we did a preview. For that event, and he was talking about this match and how this is just a kind of a writer's match, and this is just kind of an obvious no-brainer. Why haven't these 2 guys faced off? Like you and Frankie, like a lot of history of Frankie. Were you intimidated or?
Going into that battle, now, I mean, intimidated is always a strong word. I mean, I think everybody's a threat. I prepare for everybody like they're going to be the best that they've ever been. Frankie's incredible, and he was incredible in that battle. He had a lot of great material.
One of his best performances.
And that's been spoken of very fondly, by people that have watched it. So but yeah, and Frankie's great. Like, I really got well with him, and he's an awesome dude and an awesome rapper. So that was. I'm glad that one's part of the resume.
Yeah. Pun intended. But we actually hung out a little bit. Before the last All-Star game at the nearest Weatherspoons to the venue, which is a terrible kind of.
We did, yeah.
It's a Weatherspoons cut in half by a train station. The toilets at the other end of a terminal. Like, doesn't really make sense. But I got a shout as well just before we get into the bars. Martin Richards obviously is at the front. And, I was a little annoyed this didn't get on the main channels at the time because he's rocking the BRR shirt. He's rocking the red from redbubble.com, still available. It's clear on cam in the middle. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice. But Frankie, you're right. I think he's fucking excellent here throughout. Like, a lot of people latch onto your name. We're going to get through the name flips in all of these clashes. Went away for a year, but I spent the last month focused on the craft.
Yes, it's so funny that there's certain bars against me. I don't know like if people don't watch the other battles, and that might be part of their strategy. I don't think you have to watch people's past battles, but the same bars seem to come up. Like, I don't respect the craft, or I've lost love for the craft, or these little bits. So
Red Flag
always
does.
aircraft.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've heard them a few times now, pretty much 5 battles. But it's cool. People doing with their own little spin, and the audience there hasn't heard them, so it's all good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, craft beers and craft bars are mentioned as well, and you know, he's kind of saying about his absences and trying to justify them. You know, took a step down for you, not battled in a year. Which you do hit with that real savage 2-punch flip open. You know, they took a year out and dead as fuck. Said you stepped down, but should have focused on stepping up.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, I think it's always cool to start a battle with your first round with a flip.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to think of little things. You don't want to go too overboard because I'm not the best freestyler in the world. Like, I think I can do it well, but if you try and pile too much stuff up, then it can get a bit messy. And I think I probably messed one up in that battle. Actually, I remember being a bit annoyed at that. But yeah, always good to start a battle with a flip. I think it's the best way to start.
Now, I, as fucking Tom Battle Rap Resume, like, I appreciate the in jokes of battle rap and the fact that the majority of your first is about Frankie's music, but it's a different tact, isn't it? Like, you don't necessarily go from the throat on the off.
Yeah, I think he's quite a difficult one to probably conjure up angles for that are quite cutting. I mean, he's quite likable. So you have to find a little you make music that sounds a little UK Drake sort of esque, and try and go on that a bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I seem to. I mean, that was a long time ago. I've not watched it in a long time, but I seem to remember that first round going pretty well.
No, definitely. I mean, Jay Short Tune. You sort of quote himself as an attack at himself, which is pretty novel. Something you ought to use, and offside trap, like some of the football bars poke him through. You mentioned him and Danny sharing an e-cigarette on camera. So I quite like that.
That's one of those ones you're watching a battle and you see something happen, you go, I've got to, you just make a note of it. You don't write it into a bar. I want to say that because that was strange.
And you dig into this, and kind of rebuttals it towards the end of the battle. And you mentioned the top 10 punchlines of the month videos. They're worthless to you, essentially.
Ah, yeah. What a bitter clown that Crafty is. No, I'll be real. I remember at the time they used to drop them every month.
Oh yeah.
And every time a battle of mine dropped, I was just completely slumped from it. Even if I had like some really good punchlines, and I would just never be included. So I was just like, and I think I cottoned onto the fact that was being used to push people. That if somebody was getting a shot or a big match, the top 5 would be 4 of their punchlines or something. So I started thinking, is this really top punchlines? But yeah, like I said, the key thing there is bitterness, sour grapes, and it's pathetic. But there you go.
Frankie says
you got to throw shots to keep it interesting.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's all pantomime. I mean,
shots to the league sometimes.
Yeah. Frankie asks in the second, are you a poet or a battler? I mean, where do you stand on that question?
Hey, it's one of the great philosophical questions of our time. Really, is Crafty a poet or a battler? Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think spoken word, which I guess I write poetry, and I'm working on some more written poetry at the moment. But most of the poetry I've done is spoken word performance, and I see more parallel in spoken word and battle rap than I do with hip hop and battle rap. And same really with, because spoken word encompasses hip hop and theatre and comedy, and I think a lot of battle rap's theatre and comedy and all these things. So I'd like to be able to say I'm just a rapper or I'm just a poet, but that term can be an umbrella for everything we do, because I think putting boxes onto what you do is just you end up sort of marginalizing certain subgenres of the movement or the culture, and or saying my work's for this person or these people and not these people, whereas you should probably just make work you like. So I long answer that is, but yeah, poet, battler, whatever. I just do something. I write words and perform them.
I mean, Frankie's pretty scintillating towards the end of the second, naming a lot of the old possible opponents. We knew from the jump that Shocks was electrifying. He starts to pace and prowl. And actually, a bar I remember he said to me ages ago, like outside, I think it was at the Rapping It Park or Rapping It Jack or whatever it was. Hunger makes you snap under pressure like a plastic fork, which I really like. What do you think of the Neanderthal bar, hands down like a Neanderthal?
I mean, Frankie's just an absolutely insane writer, alien at times, but I thought that's probably one of his weaker bars.
I mean, it gets very celebrated in the room, possibly the most celebrated bar of the battle, other than the parlor.
I think it's an okay bar. Yeah,
sure.
I think it's an okay bar. I think he had some ridiculously top tier things or like throughout that battle.
I mean, just with you, one of the things that I really appreciate is the eye for detail and the reference. And, you talk about the Gem battle and, he was just basically there to allow Gem to showcase his material. Model for scouting Gem like Atticus Finch. I mean, that is outstanding. I love that.
Oh, someone picked up this is why I like you, Tom. You get buzz. You get my stupid niche.
Of course. That's what I live for.
Probably poetry, not battle rap. But
yeah.
I just love wordplay, man. I love wordplay and reference points. Like when I grew up listening to hip hop, wherever if I heard the reference, I loved it. And even watching battle rap, even watching Tony D's and whoever in 2010, 2011, just referencing these books and films and sports and that. Yeah, I love being able to have like a battle where it's I could show my material to like so many different people and walks of life, and maybe they'll pick up something that other people didn't. But to some people that's corny, and some people just like sticking to directness and not that it's not direct, but in terms of not referencing things or not referencing pop culture or anything. But I always enjoy those ones. So when one or two people pick up on it or comment on it, or you quoting it now, that's really cool.
Hey, no, that was really, really love that. And you mentioned Frankie's obsession with wrestling, and you offer up your own obsession. You go into those bars in a second.
I love wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said before, like wrestling is like basketball. I don't dislike it, but my knowledge of it is from battle rap. Like, I don't really watch it in of itself. If it's not in a what culture form, then it's not really for me. But still, I think obviously it gets really, really appreciated. Like, I like all the stuff at the end as well. You really go rabid towards the end after that Atticus Finch bar. All the tryouts that he had, vaulted, avoiding the net better than the ping pong champ, then into the Harry Potter, trained through the vaults like Gringotts Bank, like nasty.
Oh, I like that. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's got this feels like I remember writing these bars and delivering them, but it feels quite long ago. So it's like you're saying the bars to me, and they're new as well.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I really like that second round, man. I remember going into the third being like feeling like I was 2-0 up, just because of my like second, like like I said, of stream bars and punches. I remember the third feeling like he took, but that's how I remember it. So yeah.
I would agree. Actually, yeah. I think by the time it gets to the final round, I think you have taken it. But still, there's some fantastic stuff there. You talk about him being a judge as well in the second and being part of the scene. Spend your career looking down on people like a lifeguard. Never adapted, but I added delivery to my bars. So now I'm in transformation like a pride march. Huge reaction.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's I like those schemes. I love watching other battles where people are doing those schemes where every line's sort of a punchline on the same rhyme scheme, and it's not always effective. Like if you do it for a whole battle, it's boring. But I always like dropping into those moments. And I remember there was a guy on Tyranny who was there battling Impact.
Yes.
And I remember seeing him I think it was by the concrete space or wherever the next day was. I was at the event and I went around a corner and went into a Tesco or something, and I'm going in the aisle and I walk past him and he stops me and he goes, "Yes, you're that guy." And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, the lifeguard bar. He's like, oh my God, that's the best bar I've had this year. And I was,
wow.
That was it was just very, it was surreal.
Great.
But he also had some bars. I remember he had something like, my knife's like a debatable battle. It's hard to decide. That's what I remember him saying. That was fucking fire. And I remember that's that memory I have of that lifeguard bar is just him stopping me in like a Tesco and quoting it to me the day after.
And Frank does go crazy here. The Loki and Akala, Goldchen, like that sort of thing. Like,
oh, that shit's hilarious, man.
Really gets huge reaction, and rightly so as well. And Frank like appeals to the camera, which you don't really see that much, which kind of makes it all the spicier. Like, really enjoy that. He has some original craft stuff as well. Craft Burst Your Bubble, like the Hindenburg disaster.
Yeah, no, he had some nice, yeah. He had some really tight bars, man. And I feel like you were saying, his sort of way he was swagging and joking around, and I remember at the time thinking I had just battled the best Frank. I think he went into that one, he just stepped up massively, and then I think he went from that one into the Bender battle. Yeah. R.I.P. Bender. Who's just incredible. That was an incredible final performance from Bender as well. I was in the room for that battle, and Frankie was in those two battles. It was just like he'd really found it. What he'd been sort of working towards for a long time.
Yep, see-through Kubrick's lenses, famous Hands of Stone like Hollywood Boulevard, like just excellent stuff. You do mention the front row, so there was like a guy talking through the battle. It seemed a little bit.
I think I seem to remember that. It was really annoying. He wasn't doing it in a non-supportive way. Yeah. But it was just probably on quite strong substances, I imagine. The way it was, you can probably see on camera. But yeah, it must have annoyed me enough to mention it. So, yeah.
And you speak about, you portray Frankie as in the smoking area, a bottle of wine, boasting about the one bar that he wrote for Shuffle. It's always a double, and bars on the phone asking for feedback. Kraft, can you read that? And you just sort of peg the distance really between you, and I think maybe he does take this round, just on quality, I think, altogether.
Yeah, I think I remember my third round just sort of
still some good stuff. Blame it on the ego, like psychoanalysis is dope.
I think I went with a lot of Frank bars, which I thought were really good as punchlines. But by the third round, I think people just weren't feeling name flips. Maybe I just felt it wasn't popping as much as I would have liked. I remember going into that battle thinking, which often happens, I went in thinking my third round was my best round. Yeah. And then my third round sort of was the least effective in the room. So that's the beauty of the sport. You don't know what's going to happen, what the energy and atmosphere is going to be, but you have to prep as best you can for any scenario really. And I think that's a classic example. That third round probably just didn't go as I was happy with it, and there was no problem with it. But probably a couple notches up that it could have been.
And am I right in thinking after this was the pamphlet battle, which I saw, but I don't think it's been released, has it?
Wow, that's a little Easter egg for anyone, because that was never released. That was really the time shit was falling apart in the UK battle scene. I think that was the last event that happened for about a year. The April Fool's one. It was a cool event. There was some good. I think O'Shea versus Madness was that one. And yeah, me and Pamphlet did the battle. That was very fun actually. There is a pay-per-view of it somewhere, I think. So you could buy it. But it was never released. I'm not even sure if the footage still exists. But
why not?
It was a fun battle. It was a fun battle. Pamphlet did an amazing Tenchu impression. It was an impressions battle.
Yes,
as well.
You did a Tox one, I seem to remember.
I love the Tox one. Yeah, me and Tox didn't see eye to eye. Let's put it that way at the time. But I actually saw him at the All-Star game the other day and had a proper chat with him, and we're cool now. So there you go. you know.
So yeah, that battle's out there somewhere. People definitely go and track it down. Hopefully, it comes out through the proper channels.
Big guns. This cunt. Smelling like shit skunk. Looking like you skipped lunch for 6 months, you're shit, bruv. Because in your battles, you say things like, far, poo, piss, bum. And you're not taken seriously as a writer. Did you notice that he's this dumb? It's like reading the gospel stories in their different parts. I can see a childhood missing when I listen to Mark, but I'ma break him down to science. Fuck a biblical stance, Hadron Collider. Put matter to a machine and I split him apart.
The next battle then was Matter, right? It seemed like there was a little bit of a break for you from battling, and now your foot's more on the pedal.
I mean, that was fully like, I'm not battling now.
Yeah.
I was focused on other things. Other things I wanted to be doing and putting time into in my life. And battle rap, I just felt like it hadn't rewarded me for the, not trying to say that in an arrogant way. I mean, just as a personal level, like effort I put in perhaps wasn't proportional to what I thought the rewards are. And not that, you know, I do it because I love the sport. I love the competitiveness of it. I love playing to win. And I love rapping and writing, and it gives me this outlet to write in a way that perhaps other writing and performance-based art forms don't allow. So I was still loving that side of it, but really the main thing was I wasn't getting the opponents I wanted. Like I was, like you mentioned Frankie when he mentioned Shocks and listed people, like, you know, the Shocks battle I'd written 2 rounds for, man. I was hyped for it, and then it just got cancelled, and
yeah.
That was meant to happen at Next in Line, and then that got cancelled, and then Shocks I think pulled out, and then they put Gemini versus Shocks, and it just really pissed me off. Like a few things like that happened. Koj backed out of battling me twice, both like when it had been announced for a while, and I'd been writing and preparing, and you know, I thought those were couple battles, for example, that if I'd won, which I thought I was going to based on what I'd written, and that is the little bit of propelling you need at that moment. And I just didn't think I had those moments. The Frank battle was great, and if it was uploaded straight away when Don't Flop was buzzing, it would have got a lot of views. But it's so there were those little things. But then, so Rowan had been messaging me, funnily enough, offering me battles, and I was just like, I'm honored to still be asked to do this after a few years and to be thought of, but I'm not inspired. And I said, he said, who would you battle? And I just sent him a little list off the top of my head. And I think Matter was one of them. I've always been a fan of him.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's great. I think he's, so I just listed people I think are top tier, you know? And that was, and I think that was after the Raptor one, by the way. The Raptor one was a year and a half or so before that.
Right, yeah, of course.
That really put me off battle rap for a while.
I bet.
I was just like, what is this? What am I doing? What are the fans saying? This is all very strange to me. And then the Matter one was on 2 weeks prep. He said, do you want to battle Matter? And I just said yes, and I took it. And that was a 1-rounder. And I spent a week just writing the best shit I've ever written in battle rap and trying to put it down quickly. And I was really motivated. And then I got to the day, and it was an awesome clash, man. I really enjoyed it, but there was just zero crowd reaction. So I feel like that happened in the Fiddler's Elbow Next in Line. That would have been a really popping battle. But I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed the response to it. And then, you know, then the Quill one came about, and then the Quill one was probably that little moment I was talking about earlier, that little moment of clearly beating someone who's really well loved and really highly regarded, so that it really feels like it matters. It's not beating another up-and-comer or another person perceived on my level. It's really beating someone who's perceived as a few rungs above you. And I remember going into that battle being like super motivated to go, no, I think I'm better than this guy, and I'm going to prove that I'm better than this guy. And in my head, like, when you have that bit of motivation, it makes the writing process much more enjoyable. It makes the love for the art form and the craft and the the whole culture, it just amplifies it massively to me. So I think that was the order of things, how it happened. Unless I might be mistaken, because everything blurs into one anyway. But I think that's how it went about. So you're right, I was on a break from it, and I actually kind of thought I was probably not coming back to it. But a lot changes in the year, I guess, and now I've got a title shot. So
yeah.
I think I was the right thing.
So getting into the Mata battle, then, it is a one-rounder, as you say. There aren't that many people there, but unfortunately, there aren't that many people there. But it's also quite a boomy room, large room, and there are people talking throughout, and there's kind of distracting, just kind of ambiance to it. Unfortunately, I'm going to pick from some of the comments here on the video. Some say it has the ambiance of a Pringles can. The audio, people also refer to it as this is my favorite, a swimming pool bath's reception, which I can totally hear that reverb. So despite that, it is a really good battle, as you say, and that shouldn't deter
people. This is what I'm
people.
saying, bro. My battles always find these weird comments being the top thing.
Yeah,
there's always some weird shit that someone said that's the top comment. It's never like, this was such a good battle, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if that's my luck or just the weirdness that battle rap is and it encourages, but that was definitely a Pringles tubey sort of room.
Certainly.
I think there were people in there who, like, it wasn't only people in there for the event either, so that never helps.
No, and still, I think Matt put something together here. He does sort of coast slightly on the Ginger Virgin Poet thing. He dismantles that.
He did that well.
He did. Being a virgin gave you time to study and focus. GVP, he terms as well. Gets into the Minecraft sort of stuff, admits that he doesn't know it. Mickey's hyping from the sidelines. Wish you could marry your brother. That's Luigi, which is kind of one of those... But that you sort of mock towards the end of your round, like
matters, man. Like he'll put the incredible next to the utterly absurdist, and it makes sense because he puts his shit together right. So that's the 10.
He speaks about your love of soul. He asks when you're going to mark David Chapman's soul. We kind of have a fake joke as well. But what I like,
that was funny, man. Yeah.
And what I loved, Kraft, from your round from the off, you really were gunning for Mata. You were practiced, you were rehearsed, everything was just impactful. You mentioned his, which is, something he's probably not changed for years, but you still clown it brilliantly. The whole idea of his occupation on Facebook being a songwriter, and because I remember his battle, I need to power up, like that was on every Lunar battle. The first thing you saw was Mata's Bandcamp links, man. So that whole section I thought was great.
I think finding those really silly angles, it's gonna piss them off that you've said it, and I've been on the receiving end of those, so I know what they feel like. I think I was gunning for him, but to be honest, he was just the person in front of me, and I was venting. To be honest with you, I remember I was just really pissed off. I was like, I'm gonna do this battle, but I've just had to fucking put up with comments about how I'm shit and I'm rubbish, and like, I'm just sitting there going, no, I'm actually not. Like, I've beaten some really good people, and I've beaten the people that these commenters have got in their top 5. So I'm going into this battle being like, no, let me show you what the fuck I can do. I was very motivated. I was saying that I'm gonna. Mata at the time, and Premier Battle being the most active league at that time, Mata was their champion. He was the top of their leaderboards. I said, no, I'm gonna beat the person who's currently the best, and I'm gonna beat him well. And I spent that week. I put a lot of time into my round, and then because I was, like I said, it's that motivation. So I think I was gunning for him, but I was gunning for him in a way that I would have been for anybody who was my comeback battle at that particular time. It was, and I don't feel like it wasn't a crazy personal round or anything. It was just probably quite an aggressive one, but I like that. I mean, you got to mix it up. I think every situation, every battle requires something different. I think don't use the same approach twice. Don't use the same tactic twice. Keep it fresh. So yeah, it was in. I like the 1 round format. I think I've done 2 or 3 of those now. I'm probably kind of glad to be back doing 3 rounds. So I think that's really your bread and butter, and what I enjoy watching as a
Yeah.
viewer. So what I want to provide to other viewers as well.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned stuff that you get onto in the Quill battle, kind of being a lad abroad on the holiday, MAGA on the head like a neo-Nazi is nice, and, you sort of just say, bruv, stop battling Soul. You keep bringing up that he keeps battling Soul, which I really liked. I mean, yeah, the crowds, whatever, they're not that attentive, despite the dwindling numbers. There's not really much noise bar Mickey, who does his best, but still some sublime stuff, man. Like the whole the idea of him making gun sounds just to honor Matt as peer.
Oh, if he's making gun sounds,
Yeah.
that's just to honor Matt Appear. That's like one of my favorite wordplay name flip bars I've written, man. I really like that. And again, that was just. I wish I'd said that in front of like 200 people rather than in front of 15 people. I felt like I would have got a big room shaker for that one.
You're right.
I really liked it's corny as fuck me sitting and quoting my own
No,
bars, but I do
please.
remember some of them. I remember some of them from that battle because it wasn't as long ago.
Yeah.
And I really liked "You Need Jesus for Your Backup" like Kun Aguero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that one. I wish that got a bit more.
Lukaku attacking with Rashford passing, putting Mata behind me.
Yeah, I like that as well. What a bit of a dated football reference. That's a problem with football references a year later.
Yeah,
But
they're
it was
in
at the
style,
time.
but-
It was Lukaku and Rashford, and Mata played in the number 10. So that was a good bar at the time.
Yeah, you mentioned his I can't quite remember what you mentioned his childhood missing and like the Gospel of Mark, I think you invoked.
Oh, yeah. I think if I'm right, so I said something about him being really childish because he says stuff like "we" and "poo" and "fart," which he always does in his battles. That wasn't really a lie. And so I said something about the Bible. I see a childhood missing when I listen to Mark, because his name's Mark, and in the Bible, unless I got this catastrophically wrong, I don't. But pardon me. In the Gospel of Mark, it starts quite late in Jesus' life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's written from quite a later point. So childhood missing when I listen to Mark. Yeah, I can't remember the 4 bar now. So
Yeah.
it's hard to remember
But I
exactly
mean,
what.
you do take the battle. I think it matters a little bit on autopilot, but that doesn't detract anything from the quality of round that you brought here. Like, how is it feeling from this point then? Because certainly, the Quill battle, the Red Flag, Unan, etc. Like, this is a step up from your. I mean, shout out to Sean O'Mac and Skeptical, but this ain't them.
Yeah, it's I think it's probably people if I was battling in 2016, probably would have been preferable. But that's not the plate I was getting at the time, and no disrespect to the people matchmaking and making the cards they're putting together, what they think are the best ones. And as someone, I do programming and events and things myself, and producing, so people have their own eye and their own preference. So at the time, I wasn't perceived as being someone to put on those cards, and it was annoying and frustrating, but I just kept trying to beat whoever was in front of me. And yeah, I think winning for me really matters, but actually in battle rap, I don't think it does these days. I think you can lose every battle and be the most relevant and the most viewed and the most talked about, but that's not why I do it. I think if I did it, if I was trying to do all that, I wouldn't be doing it in battle rap. So yeah, for me, it's just beating whoever's in front of you. But like you say, once the people in front of you are Mata and Quill and international opponents and unanimous, it's probably, yeah, it keeps you motivated because you're battling some of the best. And I think Ric Flair said it, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I very much believe that. So,
Quill isn't only one of the best at the time, he was the first ever Don't Flop World Champion. This is another one-rounder.
Pretty good potential if you're looking at the highlights. Punches, tight lines, capturing the zeitgeist. 2014 don't flop with the tie-dye. Then he went to Canada, put himself on a nice flight. Soon as he returned, he was acting like he was Einstein. Started demanding a bag as his right price, blinded by the limelight. Ego got him sky high, high like cyanide. Then he took a skydive, no showed my verse. Ducking me in my prime, supposed to battle Blizzard. Stood there on the sidelines, wouldn't do the battle because they booked a coach to ride by. Offered you a title, should have been a lifeline. Now he lives in hindsight, thinking shit, time flies. Wise guy, bye-bye, getting bullied on fine line. They give him a shot.
I love the environment for this clash in Bristol. You helped to organise the event, right?
So yeah, I mentioned that in the battle. I think at the end to say I booked you a coach, but I actually didn't organise it. I when Rowan was saying I'm coming to Bristol, I shouted him out some of the venue ideas.
Sure.
I think I just threw some ideas out. I was like, I think I said you should book Stowaway versus Lefty. I think I made a couple suggestions that ended up getting booked. And just hit up some of the local scenes that might be interested and shared the content. But can't take credit for the event.
And who the hell's that asshole who's like interrupting her at the start and he's like talking about the cameramen and stuff?
Oh God, I'm not too sure. I can't remember that.
But it's
I don't know if I watched it back.
Yeah, it's just oddly distracting, just kind of interrupting her, and drops his water, and it's kind of tense, but people laugh, and I'm probably making a man out of this, but he did sort of piss me off when I saw him. Quill is extending an invitation at the start. He's talking about him discussing with the other top tiers that you're now welcome to mid-tier. We get a painting scheme, some Salah stuff. Quill says he's at pains to, explain that he has only had about a week to write this, he says.
Yeah, I never mind the angle where people spend time telling you why you're not on their level or why you're not as good as them. Because unless they're backing it up, it's a bad angle. And yeah,
what did you think
doesn't bother me too much, man.
What did you think of Quill's performance in this clash?
I thought it was I've seen him a lot better. I think he probably underestimated me in some ways. Took me a little light, but he clearly tried hard. He'd written 4 or 5 minutes of decent bars. Yes. But generally, I think it's a performance from him that would have beaten a lot of people. So I don't want to take away from our performance. I think I just had too much for him in all the different aspects. I just had my round was a bit more varied and a bit more paced. I think when the one rounder, that's quite important. It's almost it's almost curating sort of different moods and hitting different places, because you can't just go away for 2 minutes while they spit and then come back with something. You have to sort of hit different notes. So I always enjoy that writing process. But having said that, I've seen Quill do one rounders where he's better than that. So I think it's the sort of content he was coming out with, as well as the subject matter, like you've mentioned about me not being as good as him or me being mid-tier, probably wasn't the best approach from him. But hey, I also think blaming the crowd and things like that when things aren't going for you is always a bit weak. Like I never even I battled Matter and I rapped for 5 minutes and you could hear a fucking pin drop. I didn't turn around and say, "Oh, you lot need to fuck with me, man." Like, there's no point. So I think when you do that stuff, when you go, tell your opponent they're mid-tier, or you blame the crowd, and then your opponent comes out and they're spitting good stuff or they're getting reaction, it makes you look silly. So I think, I don't want to go in on it too much.
No.
I just feel like he probably took me a bit light, and that's okay. Yeah. That's everybody's allowed to have a bit of an off day, but yeah, he had a bit of an off day, and I was pretty well prepared.
Yeah, you were primed for it, and it should be said.
But he was good. I'm not saying
he was fine. Quill,
beating a lot of people.
We've seen him a lot better than this, and it does have that sort of kind of last minuteness to it, where someone like Quill can be quite bespoke with it, and I don't know, it kind of shows a little frailty there. But he talks of the crowd not reacting. Your performance is as dead as this crowd's reaction, and actually gets the biggest reaction, ironically, of his entire round.
People do want to fuck with you. They're not there again, to not fuck with you. So he brought them into the conversation, albeit to insult them, but they enjoyed it. That's what you've got to do, and fair play to him for doing that. He freestyled a little bit, and it's always a good little skill to have in your pocket, and he's a good freestyler, Quill.
And you come out swinging, with abandon really. The whole EU option, leave or stay, the whole getting dropped in the exchange, like crazy.
Thanks, man. As soon as I saw the name of the venue, it had one of those venue names that just feels like you can make relevant. It felt for a while, and then that came to me, and I thought, okay, that's it. That's how I link the venue into this battle, into this opponent. But because that can be corny as well sometimes. But yeah, it felt like a good way to do it. And obviously, a crafty bar has to reference Brexit or
naturally
some kind of swing politics. So yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
that's what they've come to expect.
And you mentioned his hip swinging as well, like that section. Showed a new side, like.
I love that because I'd noticed it and no one had ever really mentioned it.
Yeah.
I thought, all right, this is new territory, and yeah, that was just a bit of fun. I think when I clocked, like, I had the hips don't lie and all that, and when I clocked, I think I'd written a couple punchlines about it, and then I started thinking, disco lights, and as you do, beefing up the scheme. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about this for a little while. But I liked and I remember I got the who messaged me, Pamphlet. I got the ultimate wrestling cosign from Pamphlet. He was just messaging me going, I loved wagging his hips too, like Ravish and Rude, and I like that bar. So.
Yo,
good
the Pammy.
The
Pammy seal of approval. So,
that's it.
You go through Quill's backstory as well that we all know, and you really kind of paint him in a treacherous light. No show my verse, the Blizzard battle, the philosophical idea as well of Quill on Instagram, and if he doesn't take a photo of a tree falling, does it really make a sound? Which I loved. You mentioned 2014 Don't Flop with the tie-dye. Like that's a nice reference.
Yeah. Like I say, little reference points, man.
Tiny.
You got to scatter them in.
Love it.
I already had an 8 bar or 16 bar about that rhyme scheme, and tie-dye came to my head, and I was like, well, can I link this into Quill's trajectory? I was like, oh yeah, the infamous sort of Shotty Tony battle. I think it's that one. You see, hosting that bright, colourful shirt. So it just for me, it just painted a picture of an era of,
absolutely.
Quill was the up and comer in a golden era of battle rap. So that's what I was trying to. I always think it's an effective thing. I like watching battlers sort of say, actually, I really respect you, and I think you, like, almost telling them off like their dad. Like going, you should be disappointed in yourself. You're actually quite good, and you should be doing better. So that was that kind of thing. Like, you were really good. 2014 Don't Flop with the tie-dye. Then this stuff happened. So yeah.
And you mentioned him going to King of the Dot as well. You went to Canada. You got beat twice. And I think you told me this bar before, a version of this bar. And, I was delighted to see it in this battle and getting a huge reaction, going wild to it, because it is just... it's just so fucking smart, man. I love this line. The whole ironic and ellipsis stopped you getting to the dot 3 times.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. Yeah. That's I love it when a plan comes together. And I was gonna say when a bar comes together. When it's got little elements of different referencing different things, but when there's almost a wordplay that's it feels like it was there. It was written for that purpose. Like the existence of ellipsis and that whole idea was just worked perfectly for. Yeah, he'd been to King of the Dot twice, so he didn't get back a third time. The third dot and the ellipsis. Ellipsis is great as well. I was a really
that was a good battle.
I enjoyed that battle. Yeah. Ellipsis is he's actually probably someone I might actually get to the States this year, and thinking about who I'd battle if I went there, and Ellipsis is pretty cold, man. So
you and him on iBattle or something like that.
Yeah, Lex has been hitting me up as well. I say hitting me up. He's been
On my line, yeah.
Begging me. No, nothing like that. We were just chatting on Twitter or something, and he's pretty keen to work with more of the UK guys, and he said he likes what I'm doing or whatever. And so, iBattle would be. I really like iBattle. I think they put out great. Shout outs to them because they put out wicked battles, just and the crowd's really engaged, and the setting just seems so raw. It seems so fucking hip hop and so fucking just seasoned. And some of those battles are must. I watched Dunch versus Mike P.
Yes.
The other day. That was really. If anyone hasn't seen that, that's one of the best battles I've seen this year. Yeah. So they put out incredible content. So yeah, man, some of that iBattle. I've not battled abroad before. So
yeah. I mean, I'm going to be a cliche. I'm sure I've told you before. Dago Davalo on iBattle.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
He's good.
Yeah, he's cold. He's cold.
And Homeschool is someone I've been getting into recently. I don't know if you've seen much of his stuff. I haven't seen much of him. Yeah, no, he's a sort of writer as well. But speaking of iBattle, we have pretty much Mr. iBattle, Red Flag.
But he calls himself the Knife Bar King. Man, in a scrap, I bet he'd never touch me. With different caliber rappers, friend requests to treble clefs and drum beats. Even back in the States, they'll say the way he's getting pressed is ugly, ain't that mad? I thought a flag was supposed to represent its country. At the Prem event, you mugged off spoken word. But unlike Raptor, I can read and write. He'll call me some snowflake poet. Like all I talk about is peace in life, well fuck it, I ain't that guy. This will be more like a freedom fight. When I'm throwing fists, I'm still a socialist. That's a hard left with equal rights. Snowflake? No mate, I ain't that type of person.
Over here for Shrewsbury 11th birthday. Great crowd at this one. I was actually at the first event in Shrewsbury, which is a different event platform. But Sean and and everyone in the team bringing it together again.
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah,
shout out to Sean as well, man.
Oh,
really
definitely,
after
definitely shout out to Sean. Yeah,
good show, man. Yeah.
And you're termed as hitter at this point. Ill Will smacks Top Gunner. It's getting that sort of vibe coming on. Red Flag's a hot property at the moment. He's a stunning talent.
He's absolutely incredible. He's not been around that long. I was going to say I only came across him quite recently. Before the Raptor battle, I'd seen one or two bits of him, and I thought he was fucking cold when I saw him then. And then I watched the Raptor one and thought he had one of the performances of the day, and it was just. Yeah, I actually thought he took that battle 3-0, in my opinion. Thought he was really, really strong. So that's interesting though, because when he was offered to me, I didn't know much about him. So I was almost like, should I accept this one? I did, but I went and had to look him up and stuff, because actually the Raptor battle, though it happened before, it was confirmed after. So with Premier Battle, anybody who's listening to this podcast, I'm assuming, is a battle rap head, so knows about the Tay-Rock situation, and not really have to explain it. But they brought in some Americans last minute, and Red Flag was one of them. So really, the week before that, I'd just confirmed to battle him. So then I see a week later, I see he's battling Raptor. So that all came at a really similar time. But we'd already confirmed the Shrewsbury clash. And I was supposed to battle Unanimous in November, both of them. So I remember I was prepping for two battles. So that Red Flag, what I'd seen of him was great. But yeah, I think even the last few months, he's made giant leaps. And I think he's someone who's going to be getting some big plates over in the States. And I think King of the Dot should put him on their main cards a lot more.
And, in many ways, you can read a person's psychology by knowing how they treat animals. And it's kind of the same with battlers. It's like, how do international battlers treat UK leagues, like domestic leagues? Is it just a free holiday, or is it something to actually, treasure and work for and show out? And Red Flag's one of those guys that just has that consistency. He's clearly excited to be on the platform, has the local references that aren't pandering, that aren't bucking him. The Weatherspoons app, for example, don't know what I'll bring to the table. Wow.
I told him after the battle, I said, thank you for actually researching our culture a little bit and not just fucking Googling landmarks in UK and rapping and making them into shit wordplay. And he was like, "Nah, I'd never do that." And he'd clearly put in the research. So yeah, no, and that was just I enjoyed that battle. It was less of a, like I said earlier, when I was really sort of going to war with Matter and Quill, like felt like less of a war. It felt more like a what's the word? I can't think of the word, but just something to happen before the Unan battle, like just to keep things going, to keep momentum going. It just seemed like the right battle at that time. But yeah, really enjoyable. Like you said earlier, man, the vibe in the room, the way it was presented and filmed, and the crowd were really good. So yeah, that was and it's had great feedback as well, I should say. I've been getting a lot of tweets about it.
Yeah, it was great.
I don't always read the YouTube comments, but I did for that one. Yeah. They were saying some nice things. So that's, yeah, I think, and people were generally also, outside of myself and Flag, people were saying this is good to see Don't Flop and UK battle rap in general putting stuff out. I think it's in a healthier position than it was a couple of years ago. A lot of work to be done, a lot of attitudes still to be changed, and things need to be clamped down on a bit. But it felt like that sort of 2015 I'm at a Don't Flop event vibe in that room, which was really, really nice, man.
And the final thing then I want to talk about is the Unan title match that we're building towards, and Ryan actually on Twitter wanted to mention this as well. So this is going down Saturday the 29th of February in Bristol. This is Don't Flop One of a Kind at the Jam Jar. We'll put the link down below. The card is Abe versus Caesar, Tech versus Georgie Roots, Impact Merv versus Mash, Graphic Grammar versus Zayn Azrai, Jay Shorts there versus Mackenzie. That's a cool clash. On-beat title match is going to be Press One and Lefty. The title match for the Don't Flop title, Unan versus Crafty. I mean, if Unan's on his AA game, can you win?
Yeah, I will.
You will? Okay.
I'll beat his A game, yeah.
I mean, I'm just sort of stirring the pot here, but like, if both of you are firing on all cylinders, like, this is going to be one for them ages, I think.
Let's hope. This is a tricky chance for both of us. So let's hope it's what it can be. I'm under no illusions that it's a great opportunity. Unan's a legend, to be honest, in UK battle rap. I think he's done and achieved more than most people have or will. And for me, just having that title back in the fray, Shocks vacated it 2 years ago, maybe more than 2 years ago. And you look at Soul and Tony and Osh, it's a coveted title, man. It's UK battle rap having that. I know Premier Battles, I don't want to dismiss them and what they've done, because it's brilliant. They have a title as well, so there is actually another title. But this is the long-standing one that's been there a while, and I don't want to think past it, because I'm confident, and what happens on the day happens. I win or he wins, but whoever does, I hope it's the start of a run of title matches, big events, and things being a little back on track and defending that title, as well. It's basically the main thing there is what I just said about, I think it's very coveted. I think the names that have been on that title, and sometimes you look at the King of the Dot or other titles and it's had 20 title holders and whatever. It's had a few good matches and they've all been great battles. So I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't produce a battle of the caliber that we've seen over the years on Don't Flop.
Okay. Well, again, guys, this is going down Saturday the 29th of February in Bristol. I'm sure there'll be a pay-per-view if you can't make it, but definitely try and get down to see Unan versus Craft D. Yeah. It's going to be sensational. So finally, just on the Twitter, a few questions from Ryan. I mean, we spoke about the title match. Oh, Ryan's saying, would you ever do Pun It? I think I mentioned to you this briefly, Kraft. I've had Harry Baker and Bagnall on. It's like my pun.
Oh, listen to that. That was fantastic,
yeah,
man. Big up for that. I really enjoyed that.
I'd love to have you on, man, as a poet. Like,
yeah, I'm down.
I think you'd be good.
That sounds cool. I mean, you get to pre-write them, right? I'm not as good as people have on these freestyle puns.
There is a freestyle round at the end, but the majority of the game, you get time to pre-write. So,
yeah, that sounds fun. I'm very down for that. Maybe in a month or two when shit's a bit calmer, but definitely down for it.
All right, excellent. So guys, as always, you can follow us at battlerapresume. Get in touch with me, battlerapresume@gmail.com if you want to come on the show or discuss the top 10 or look back on a battler's career, whatever like that. Patreon is there if you enjoy the show and you want to give back to us over here at Battle Resume. You can donate at Patreon and get access to episodes like this months before they come out on the main channel straight to your phone. Go on to iTunes, check out all the reviews people have left, and leave us a review, hopefully a nice one over there, 5 stars. Kraft, what about yourself? Like your events, your work? Like, how do people reach you?
Oh yeah, no, online, just Crafty or Craft_D on Twitter. Oh, I've got Instagram now. I recently got Instagram, so you should follow me. Because I don't know what I'm learning. So it's YoCraftD, YoCraftD. But event stuff. I mean, if you're in Bristol, come check out Raise the Bar shows. Come check out Bristol Poetry Festival. I'm involved. I produce a lot of stuff. So if you ever want to get involved or chat about it, or what a cool thing as well is a lot of battlers and rappers have been getting at me recently saying they want to do more live poetry and spoken word performances. So anyone who's a rapper or a fan of rap and writes themselves or writes bars or words, man, like just if you were looking for a platform to share your work, just hit me up, man. It'd be good to it's always I love a big part of my job, really, my freelance work is producing platforms. So always good to hear what people are doing.
Bro, thanks as ever, man. This has been great to have you on. Maybe we'll have to go back and just watch some random battles off First Tracker sometime. It'll be good to go through. But
thanks for having me on again. No, man. I appreciate it.
As always,
appreciate your support, man.
As always, bro.
It's really means a lot, man.
So we'll all the episodes that we've done before, guys, check them out on the archive. Go support Kraft in all his avenues and ventures. But Kraft, thanks again, man.
Nice one, man. Take care, yeah? See you later.